It's preview time for the 2019 Russian Grand Prix. Round 16 of the 2019 season takes us to Sochi, the host for the 2014 Winter Olympics. A real unique venue, this one, and after what's been a pretty awesome second half to the 2019 season, we go to Russia, a circuit which hasn't provided the best of racing since its comeback in 2014. However, there have been some dramatic moments. This was the scene of Danny Kvyat's downfall from Red Bull Racing, hitting Sebastian Vettel twice in the rear on the opening lap. It was the scene last year of the infamous meme, Valtteri, it's James. Does it get much better than that? Than the birthplace of a meme? Probably not. However, I personally feel this is a circuit that has potential. And considering this year, we've got Ferrari, Mercedes and Red Bull all fighting for victories, I think we're in store for a brilliant Grand Prix. Last time out, this was your result. Ferrari 1-2 in Singapore. I can tell you now, nobody in the world was expecting that on the Friday before the weekend had started. But Ferrari, a brand new front wing, a brand new nose, sounds insignificant, but the results on track painted a completely different picture. Leclerc on pole, Hamilton P2 with Vettel P3, but it was a Ferrari, and I don't say this very often, strategic masterclass, got them the 1-2 in the end. Mercedes, a slight blunder on the strategic side. It was Verstappen who was in front of the two Mercedes in P3, another podium for him. I believe that's now 28 in his Formula 1 career, but it was Ferrari that stole the show. Their first 1-2 since Hungary 2017. Yeah, a long time ago. Alex Albon was P6. It was our first real chance to compare him to teammate Max Verstappen. Some really good races in the midfield. I said in my review, I think that's one of the best midfield fights we've had all season long. We had a four-way fight between Grosjean, Ricciardo, Sainz and Stroll on the last lap, but all of them, it was like they're in a cube, all side by side, the entire lap on the final lap. It was really awesome racing, but Norris and Gasly in particular stole the show in that midfield, finishing P7 and P8. P9 was Nico Hülkenberg, a really impressive race in the end from him after contact on the opening lap, and Antonio Giovinazzi led the race for part of it, but he himself, a really good weekend, comfortably in front of Raikkonen, who got torpedoed midway through the race. But I really enjoyed the Singapore Grand Prix, and thanks to that race, this is how the Drivers' Championship is looking at the moment. Lewis Hamilton still has a comfortable lead, and that's probably the understatement of the season. 65 points in front of Valtteri Bottas, 96 in front of third place and fourth place, Leclerc and Verstappen. Leclerc himself moves up to third place, is joint third placed almost with Max Verstappen, but due to having better results over the season, is ahead of the Dutchman at the moment. Sebastian Vettel, after that win in Singapore, is only 6 points now behind third place, so that's getting really tight in the battle for that final end-of-season podium position, if that makes sense. Pierre Gasly still in 6th place. I didn't expect that, on an interesting amount of points there. Alex Albon, however, is continuing to close him down. He's currently on 42 points, but look at that fight behind him. Ricciardo, 34, go all the way down to Raikkonen on 31. Very, very close in that midfield indeed. Right then, enough talk about last time out. I think it's time for a hot lap for the Russian Grand Prix. Welcome to our hot lap for the Russian Grand Prix. Starting the lap now, going through turn 1. It's a mighty long distance down towards our real first braking zone. Turn 1, flat out right kink, but here turn 2 is the first opportunity for overtakes on the lap. Expect that to get really argy-bargy on lap 1. A brilliant swooping third corner, again kind of a fourth corner through down to turn 5. Perfect place for opportunities for overtaking. It's gone wrong in the past there for the likes of Raikkonen, for the likes of Vettel, but an awesome bit of racing. Down to turn 6. You've got to be careful. In my hot lap, I run a little bit wide there, and that might catch out a few drivers in qualifying. Likewise with turn 7. Again, in my lap, I almost run a little bit wide, but this second sector now, as we head towards our big DRS zone and overtaking spot, really intricate. Not perhaps brilliant for overtaking, but really technical for qualifying. Now onto the main straight of the Grand Prix. DRS would now be open. However, as we start going further down the straight into the braking zone, overtaking here a little bit more difficult than you can expect. That slight left-hand tink and this right-hand deep braking zone into a left deep hand braking zone, really difficult to overtake. You really have to be a world-class driver to pull that off there. Through sector 3 now, into the last couple of corners. Pit lane is there on the right hand side, a few corners earlier than normal, but that was your lap for the Russian Grand Prix. Now, as always, we like to just have a little glimpse into the past, have a look at some statistics for the race. And as you can see, since the Russian Grand Prix's return, Mercedes, well, I think it's fair to say they've dominated, won every single race since 2014. Lewis Hamilton picking up 3 of those race wins in 2014, 15 and 2018. We'll talk about 2018 in a moment. Nico Rosberg in 2016. And Valtteri Bottas got his first ever Grand Prix victory back in 2017. I believe it was a Ferrari on pole on that particular day. However, Bottas drove a really strong race. A career-defining race in some ways. Controlled it in the end phase and deserved the race win. On that particular day, was being hounded down by Sebastian Vettel, but held on. Really good job from Valtteri. Last year, Valtteri was on pole. Last year, Valtteri was controlling the race. However, as I said earlier on, the meme was born. Valtteri, it's James, Hamilton in a title fight. They decided to move Valtteri out the way. They used team orders, something we're not used to with Mercedes-AMG Petronas Grand Prix. Sometimes I like saying the full name. We didn't expect it. Hamilton, in the end, didn't need it. However, that was, again, another career-defining moment for Valtteri. He proved to the team that he's a team player. He proved that he's happy to be that number 2 driver. Something that I think this year hasn't really come down to it. But perhaps you look at races like Singapore last time round, perhaps the team feel now that they can ask him to move out the way a little bit more, destroy his own race or hurt his own race to help Hamilton. It was a career-defining moment. Valtteri, though, annoyingly and fairly, I suppose, paid off with his team. Didn't matter in the end, but a race win was taken away from him. Didn't win a single race last year, but should have won last year's Russian Grand Prix. Moving on into the race room, of course, the newsroom. Yeah, of course, it's only been a week since last time round, so news a little bit dry, I am afraid. However, we've got a few talking points I want to quickly talk about before we go into our predictions. Starting off with the fact, reverse grids, lots of talk at the moment. I may even do a separate video on it. I just wanted to quickly mention it here in the newsroom because it seems to be absolutely everywhere. The drivers hate it. I'd say it's a 50-50 split with the fans, whether they like it or not. I was speaking to Sean and Chainbear about it over on the F1 Word channel. I'm not a big fan. I personally don't have a big issue with qualifying how it is at the moment. But obviously Liberty Media, the FIA, are trying to kind of mix things up a little bit, so I think maybe it's worth doing a separate video, but I just thought I'd let you know that's my thoughts, my initial thoughts anyway, on the matter. Williams, unbelievably, they're keeping their point. They're actually going to have a point in the 2019 season. They got it back in Germany, courtesy of Robert Kubica. George Russell finished P11 on that day, so a brilliant race for them. However, the only reason they got that point was because of the 2 Alfa Romeo cars being disqualified. Alfa Romeo, ever since that race, are protesting it. It's gone to court, but it's been ruled that it's fine. It's fair and lawful that they were disqualified. So Williams will keep their point. And for a team that has struggled so much in 2019, to be fair to them though, a team that I think it's fair to say has definitely made progress since the first race of this season, that's a big sigh of relief for them. I think going into this weekend as well in Sochi, I don't think it'll be a track they'll be particularly good at. It was a track that Valtteri Bottas performed very well in the past at this circuit for Williams, but I think this is the best news they could ever hope for in 2019. Alfa Romeo, of course, the team that were disqualified, well, that would have really helped their championship challenge if they got both cars into the points, but they did get one car into the points last time out. Antonio Giovinazzi, Kimi Raikkonen, as I mentioned earlier on, got torpedoed. We now go to Russia, the home of the torpedo. If you don't know what I'm on about, by the way, Danny Kvyat's nickname is the torpedo. Cool, we're all cleared up. Anyway, Giovinazzi or Giovinazzi, whatever you want to call him, really strong race for him. Again, improving, I think, as the season's going on, but he was smacked round the face with a 10-second penalty at the end of the race. That one was for driving too close to the crane when it was on circuit. I've seen the footage. It's pretty much a slam dunk penalty. So very almost nearly didn't get points in the race. And that would have been a real gut wrencher for him. However, Grosjean in P11 was 17 seconds behind, so he still holds on to those points. Yeah, a real boring day in the newsroom, I am afraid. But predictions, my favourite bit. I'm back in Valtteri this weekend. He's had a real dry spell now for quite a long time. Hasn't won since Azerbaijan, the 4th race of the season. That surprises me a little bit, but definitely since the summer break. And I don't necessarily think this is Valtteri's fault, but Mercedes have been on the back foot just a little bit. Ferrari have won every race since the summer break. Didn't win any in the first half of the season, but I think this is going to be a track where Mercedes will be the team to beat. I think Ferrari will slot in that number 2 spot, and now they've got that front wing upgrade. They seem to be the best car in a straight line, the best car through the corners. Maybe that's a little bit too extreme, but I think Ferrari are going to be right up there once again. So I've gone with a Valtteri win, a Valtteri pole position, but I've gone with the Leclerc P2. I've also gone with Leclerc starting outside the top 3, so I'm expecting a real strategical battle, but also this is a circuit which in the past, especially in the midfield, has been good for overtaking, but it's also been a circuit which hasn't been so great for overtaking. So this is one of those races we're all going in pretty much blind. It's a circuit that, a little bit like Azerbaijan, can be absolute carnage, but also can be a little bit dull. But I'm expecting a good race. As always, your predictions, throw them in the comments below. I started it last week and I'm going to do it again. My favourite predictions that you put in the comments, I'm going to use in tomorrow's practice report video right at the end. That was a bit of fun. Some of you had some crazy predictions, but they were awesome. Also, if you put Grosjean on the podium, I'm more likely to feature your comment in the video. So, pole position, front row, biggest shock, race winner, podium, first retirement, driver of the day, and best of the rest. I know it's a lot, but it's fun anyway. I think that's your lot then. That's all I'm going to give you this week for the 2019 Russian Grand Prix preview. It's the home of the torpedo. It's the place where his career went down the drain, but he's really recovering now. Can he shine? Could Kvyat get a podium? Could he surprise everyone and win the race? Stranger things have happened in Formula 1. If you've made it this far and you're not subscribed, what are you doing? Feel free to do so down below. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed as always, and I hope to see you in the next one.